because my system was misbehaving a little. So now share the screen. Just bear with me. Okay, so I believe we can see my screen now. Last week we were able to install Laravel, learn about a few other things about PHP. We, learned about Composer installation and setting up of the framework itself. So I'm quickly going to run us through what the file structures are in Laravel, and then we proceed from there. Without wasting much time, please, can you open the Laravel application that you installed the last time? Can you please open it from your laptop while I'm going to try to open one. I think I've created it here. So this should, let's see. Okay, so please open it in VS Code. If you are using Mac, open it with VS Code and then have your terminal running. Okay, if you are using Windows, you know what to do with the command prompt. I'm going to quickly open mine to the terminal here. Even though I started, I still have some terminals running. That's fine. So you can type code space dots from your directory if you are able to, whether you are on Mac or Windows. It will open the current directory for you in VS Code. Okay. I'm going to just close all of the stuff that I opened here. Right. Permits me also to close this. Yeah, so I believe everyone has opened the Laravel application. Please just show some reaction. And please just use some reaction if you have opened the application so that we can get going. I don't want to leave anyone behind. If you have not opened, please open it. Right? Okay, good. So now we have our Laravel application installed. For each application or each project you want to develop, okay, you will have to install a new instance of Laravel framework. Okay. And as already said, Laravel is a framework that is built on PHP to handle, a project faster and easier to maintain. So it's a robust framework that can help you to build, that you can use to build scalable applications. And I say scalable now, that's from the application point of view and not from the infrastructure point of view. Okay, so yeah. Now to understand Laravel very well, we need to understand the file structures. Okay, understand the file structures. Why do we have all these folders? I hope you are aware that all of these are folders. Okay, these ones without the, the ones with arrow beside them, they are folders. So each of them has their function, and we are going to be delving into what they do. So I'm going to drop this link on the group. You can also follow it, okay? Or probably so that will not distract us, I can drop the link to that article that we have put together for us later, okay? So, but for now, I'll drop it for us later, okay? Drop it for us later. We have the app directory, which is the first one here, right? I believe you can all see my screen. We have the app directory. This app directory is the folder that handles the application logic. All our application logics are being kept inside this folder, and when you open it, you see other directories. When you hear directories and folder, just know that you can use them interchangeably. So you have console, you have exceptions, you have HTTP, you have models, you have providers. Okay, these are folders that holds the major logics, application logic within your project. Okay, so for example, inside the HTTP, you have your controllers, you have your middleware, right, and you have the kernel which you use to register your middleware and the likes of that. Okay, you have your models, which serves as the data layer. In this case, it handles the data structure, which directly connects to your database and all that. And then you have your provider. So don't worry too much about all this. Just know that your app is where you have your logics. Some child directory or folder under that is where you have your what is it called? Your application logic saved, right? Then you have the bootstrap. The bootstrap is a folder that houses the code that initializes your framework. Okay, so it stores files that are required for the framework to initialize, to be bootstrapped. You understand? So, and that also includes catch. Includes some other PHP classes and like that. So then you have your config. Your config is where you have codes where you can set your configurations. For example, your database configurations, your caching configurations, authentication configurations, broadcasting, file system, and a lot of other ones, right? So you've got that, and then you have another folder which is called the database. This is where you have everything that has to do with creating tables, migrations, creating CDAs, factories, and the likes. All these are directly related to getting data into your database. We'll also get there. Then you have your public files. This public file is what you expose to the users. Is what you route your internet, your IP address or your public IP address to interface with. Okay, so this public, from the name you can tell, that is a folder that you make public to the users. All these other ones are specific to the applications. They are only used behind the scene, if that makes sense. So don't worry, you understand everything better. So move on. Then we have, please come. I'm not sure if I've tried listening to anyone from this headset. I don't know if it's properly connected. Can someone please speak?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Good, thank you. So then we have the resources, and that is the folder that handles views, JavaScript, or whatever front-end development you want to do. Okay, it's the resources that handles that. Right, then you have your route. Route is the folder, the directory that handles the HTTP requests that come into your application. That's where you define your routes. You understand that better as well. Move on. You have storage, anything that the application uses, any static files or data, static data, whatever that the application uses is inside the storage. That's where you have your logs, your error logs, and whatever static file that you don't want to make public to the user. You don't want to make public to the internet user. Like I said, the folder you expose to the user or to the internet is the public. So if you have anything you also want to use that are also static files or probably logs that you don't want the public to access, you keep them inside the storage. And then when you build your application, you want to run some tests to ensure that your code is free of bugs. So you want to write your test cases and all that. You have that inside the test directory. And the vendor directory is not specific to Laravel. When you have your application pushed to a repository, say GitHub, for example, or Bitbucket, you don't push your vendor directory, and that is because your libraries are installed in the vendor directory. So whether or not you use Laravel or any other framework, even if you just use PHP, and you need to import some libraries or packages that are third-party packages, you need to use them. The moment you install them, they are kept inside the vendor directory. Just to get the difference. The vendor directory is not specifically native to Laravel or any other framework. It is always used when you need to import any directory or any third-party package or library into your application. The moment you install it, this is where it resides, inside the vendor directory, right? And when you push your code to the repository, the vendor directory is exempted, right? Because it can become very big and large. So you only want to keep that on the destination of the application, which is either on your local or on the server. Okay, you don't want to push that anywhere else, right? Those are the stuff that we have, and then we have some other configuration files. You have your env. Env is the file that holds your constant variables, the variables you would like to use from within your application that do not really change. They are not dynamic. For example, you want to set the details of your database connection. You just come here, what database connection I'm using, MySQL, the host, you specify the host, specify the port, the name of your database, the username, and then the password. So you have anything at all, you can just think of, okay, I think I want to be able to send an email to a particular URL. You can keep the URL in the env, and you get it imported into your config, which will be available throughout your application lifecycle. So then, that's basically it. And remember, you installed Composer the last time. This is that file that holds your Composer. I know you were told, just a refresher point, that Composer holds the libraries or packages that you need to use in your, and like I said, where are these packages stored? They are stored inside your vendor directory. Okay, so you are saying that when you see require, you are telling the Laravel that these packages that are here, that are specified here with their versions, they are required for the application to run properly. Okay, so this required dev means that they are only required for development purpose. They are not necessarily needed for production. So it means you can do without them in production mode when you are in production stuff. Okay, and then you have other configurations that you will get used to as we move on, right? So these are just metadata, like the name of the project, the type, and blah blah blah. They are not very much required, but it's good that you have them. Okay, so that is that on application structure, or file structure rather, in Laravel. So in that case, we'll have to try to run our first application in Laravel. Okay, but I want to let me explain how we expect Laravel to work based on what this tutorial, right? Now, if you think of a website, just think of a website for now, right? You know that on some websites you are asked to, if you say login or sign up or something like that, where you provide your username or email and then you provide your password. When you do that, you click on the button sends a request to the backend. Okay, you can have that project of being able to sign in or do any other thing on the application in two forms. Okay, and one form will be either let me see. So one form will be either you are building the whole front end and the back end in the same application, which is Laravel. You know, whether as PHP or as framework. But since we're focusing on Laravel, I'm just going to restrict what are the references that we make into Laravel, right? It's a new. So you can have, this is your screen, okay? This is your screen. This is the application that you see on Chrome. This is the application that you see on Chrome, right? And then you see username, blah, blah, blah. Then you see password, blah, blah, blah. Right? Let's say this is a Chrome login, for example. Just say your application is called Chrome. Example, let me not confuse you. Let's say app login. So the whole browser that you can see here is Chrome. Okay, the whole browser you can see here is Chrome. The two ways that you can do this is either you have your front end, right? Is it that your application is running as a front end application built somewhere separately in a separate application. And when you say application, you already know that that's having a separate folder for that application. So you know your front end will use HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So you know that this is your front end, which will consist of your HTML, your CSS, and your JavaScript. Okay, on whatever framework that they use, whether Vue.js or React.js or Angular, right? So you know that this will be your front end. Then if you now have another one, a separate application like this will now be the back end. So I need you to understand this part very well, because that is where you are able to differentiate between what you are running and the way you build your application, whether it's going to be a full stack, that is you having your application front end and back end together in one application folder, or you want to have your front end separately. So that's part of the first question you want to ask when you say, okay, come on in as a Laravel developer, PHP developer. Then you want to ask, are we building it as a full stack, having the same, the front end and the back end in one application, or we'll have the Laravel application separate from the front end? So you need an answer to that, right? So in this case, this backend will be API based, or might be API based. Okay. So for Laravel, it's going to be API based if you have your front end separated in a separate application. So what you have happening here is for your front end to be able to communicate with the back end, it's going to use what we call the HTTP request. HTTP request. Okay. So going to be using HTTP request, right? Which we will deal with. We will also talk about that. That's not going to be covered in this particular class, right? But if it is not going to be like this, it's either going to be like this, okay, or it's like this. Your front end and your back end all together within the same Laravel application. Okay, so you now have front end within the same Laravel application. You have your back end. In this case, it is not going to be right. So you have your HTTP request there. But let me just call this Laravel. So I need you to understand this flow. Get it, please. So by the time we now run our first application, you know which one are we using right now. I will need you to tell me. So please pay attention. So this is our Laravel application. We have our front end, we have our back end. In this case, we are going to be using what we call the MVC. We are getting there. Don't worry. Just know that you have heard that before. MVC. Okay. We're going to be using the MVC architecture, right? So this is our Laravel application, holding the front end and the back end. Or we have the front end developed by the front end guys separately, and then you deploy that separately. Then you have your backend application API developed and deployed. So Laravel can give you this, and it can also give you the full stack, give you in full stack form. Okay, this is Laravel. Okay, good. So when the user comes to interface with the application, they just see, they don't know what is happening. They don't know whether it is separated or putting together. So now, having known that, we are going to go straight into running our first code, right? The first thing we want to do in any application is to check out, just create a route to see whether your application structure is valid. So what are we going to do? We'll come to routes. Okay, we'll come to route. And then when you click on route, and you don't click on API, sorry, because the first one we want to do is the full-fledged one. I've already given you that scope, the answer to the question I was going to ask you. But don't worry. Let me see if you'll be able to remember when I asked you. So this is what you have normally. If you open your code now, you see that this is what you have. It doesn't matter whether you leave this there or you remove it. I just like removing it, right? It's a comment to tell you that here is where you can register web routes for your application. So the word web here already tells you that it is what you are doing is going to be run directly from the browser, which means it will have the view aspect of things, to have the MVC, right? So when you declare a route like this, right, and then you say, welcome, like they already did for us here, they have given us a route. So I want us to use this default route, and let's see how it works. Okay, so I'm going to use this default route. They called a they imported this class right here, and then they called it, okay, statically. They called the get method. They put this, and then they use the welcome. So if I run the server, this will show us the default page that Laravel has given us. Then we'll now delete it. After running it and seeing how it works, then we'll delete it and create our own Hello World page or application. Then we'll see how we will be able to replicate what they did. Okay. So from your terminal, right, please type this command. We call it artisan command. So any command that you run from the terminal to implement something or to run something in Laravel, we call it artisan command. Okay, so you write PHP first to tell you that it's still PHP server that will trigger that command SAN serve. Okay, PHP @SAN serve and press enter. When you do this, it will open, just like you remember the way we used to start our server end. You remember that PHP-s blah blah. So here you just don't need to specify that, just type PHP serve. Let me drop this for us. Right, PHP serve. So when you type this, it will open the local host for you and append a port. So this 8000 is the port. Okay. So what you just need to do is either click on it directly to open it in your browser, or you see. When you run this, you will see the default page that Laravel provided. This is just the default page. It's just the default page. Now, let me know if you have been able to run and you have this on your screen. Please, can you show some reaction? Good. Another person? Anyone else? Anyone else? Who have? Yes, please go ahead.
When I run it, I'm getting SQL state HY, like an error, an internal server error when I run it on my end.
Internal server error. Okay, please. Okay, hold on. Anyone else who has been able to run that and it works well in their hand? So I need to know if anyone else has been able to do it successfully. Okay, good. So please, Ibukun, can you share your screen? Let's see what you have, because that is very important. We need you to be able to start a server in Laravel. Before any other thing, that's what you must know how to do, to at least start a Laravel server. So that command, right, is usually used for development purposes, right? So you are developing on your laptop, and you need to be able to run what you are developing to see how it looks. Okay, you will need to run that command.
Sorry, can you see my screen now?
It's coming up. Yeah, I can see it now. Okay, SQL connection refused. Okay, section blah blah blah. All right. So can you go to the code you ran? Let me see.
Yeah, this is it.
Aha. Okay. Right. Can you go to your EMV? Go to your EMV. It seems like you have env.env. That's it. It's a file, not yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. You've changed the database name to first_app, and it doesn't seem like that there's any connection yet. You have not been able to install any database or do anything. Okay. Let me right here. So your database, can you change it to? Can you change your database name? No, sorry, your session driver. Your session driver. Yeah, can you? Okay, no, just leave that. Don't touch that. I was going to say you should change. Can you change your DB connection to SQLite, like SQL ITE? Can you change it? No, SQL. Remove mine.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you? Okay. It seems more like you have. Okay. So what will happen is we might need to attend to this later, because if we sit on this,
okay,
it might take so long for us to.
Okay.
But then this error you are having is saying that it's not able to connect to your database. Ideally, when you provide database connection, and you change the details that are there, you will need to have your database set up. Okay. So don't worry, you might still be able to run. By the time we remove what we have there now, you might still be able to run your application. Okay. So moving forward, right? Just pay attention. Don't worry if you are not yet able to run that. Let's go to our route now. You know, we didn't do anything. If you notice, we didn't do anything at all. We just came to web and we confirmed that we have this guy here. Okay, and then we just move ahead to run our command. We didn't touch anything, we've not written anything. Now we are going to write our post code, right? What we'll do is we might want to remove this. You can remove it and you can as well leave it, but to not confuse us. That's why I wanted us to remove it. Okay, so when you remove that, you're now going to write your own route yourself. What you do is route, okay, double colon, right? Then put get in front of it, open parentheses, close the parentheses at the end with a semicolon to make it valid. Okay, then open a quote like this and put hello world. Okay, then comma, put let's use a function for now. Then we can move ahead to type a function. I know that you've learned what functions are the last time. Okay, so but the function we are going to be using here, because we are using it within this thing, is not a type of function that will have a name. So it's called anonymous function. So don't worry about that. You just type a function. When we specifying the name, then you open the parentheses like this. So make sure your code is in this format. Okay. And then type, just type return hello world. Save. Okay. Then save this. Okay. And then if you have not started your server, make sure you start your server. Right? Or if you want to stop your server and restart it, you can just press Ctrl+C to stop your server, and then you type it again, or you use the up and down arrow key on your keyboard to get it again, and then you hit enter. So when you come here and you go to that same stuff where you have 127.0.0.1:8000, then you just put /hello-world. If you do this and you press enter, okay, let me check. Oh, okay, I use word, not word. So let me put L and save it. Then so if you have been able to get this, please let me know. What you enter here must be the same as what you will have here. So if you have been able to do that, can you please thumbs up for me? Let me see. If you were able to do that, okay, good. Any other person? We are patient. We can wait for you to get that before we proceed ahead. Any other person who has tried that? Let me open the code for you so that you can see. So this is the code. If you have been able to do that, please can you thumbs up for me? Just one more person and we'll move on. Okay, is that not the same person that thumbs up with the other time? All right, let me just It's not okay.
No.
Good. So good. So if you have any issue, please just let me know. Apart from okay, so who is that person? What's the name of that person that had an error? Ibukun, did you try this? Did it work?
I tried it. I still got the same error.
You still got the same
SQL.
error.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's your issue must be okay. We can probably after the class we can attend to that, but then you need to be able to try this. Like we'll come back to that. Adeoluwa Adeleke, new one. Hand is up.
So I'm getting this error message, failed to open stream, permission denied.
What kind of system are you using? Windows or
Windows. Windows.
be able to open?
Windows.
Let's see. Can you share your screen? Let's see if it's something we can solve quickly.
Okay.
If it's something we can attend to quickly right now, we will do that. If not, then we have to wait after the class. Get it fixed. We still have a number of things to cover today.
So can you see my screen now?
No, it's not coming up yet. Yeah, it's coming up now. It's not, you are sharing now, but I can't see anything. I can only see your picture.
Okay.
Maybe it's your network. Yeah, I think I can see your screen now. Let me see. Let me see. Can you click on the window below the one on top? I think you are on Google Meet. Can you click on your screen, the screen that's showing the error? That's your browser. Yeah, so that we can see output. Why are you getting this file put? Not. Can you? Where are you running it from? Let me see your code. First, let me see the command that you are running from the terminal or CMD.
Yes.
I can't see it yet. I think, are you sharing a part of your screen? If you share everything, then maybe I can, okay, yeah. It was just a yeah, I think you have, so the moment you update things in your EMV and you don't understand what you are doing really, you might have error if that thing conflicts with a proper configuration expected by the hardware. Okay, so I can see that your EMV has been updated, but I don't know what was updated. Can you undo whatever you did to when it was first installed? Click inside the EMV file and just undo. It means you have probably changed something. Sorry?
It's only this my SQL that I changed, as you said the other time.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. So save it. Have you saved it now? You saved it, right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
can you
I've saved
stop?
it.
Yeah. So stop your server and restart it. Okay. I think it is restarting by itself. Let's hold on. And let me see your route. Let me see the route that you have created. Let me see your route. Hello?
Can you see now?
No, I can't. I think your network is lagging. Are you?
Is it
So
coming
I
up?
said, so I can still see the welcome route. So I wanted you to remove this and use the one that I typed myself. That one that I typed with a hello word in front of the. Did you see it? Did you see it when I did it?
I don't think I did. No, I did not.
I think your network is lagging. So you might, if you check my screen now, so you can stop sharing. Just try what
Okay.
I'm showing now, and try to see if it works.
Okay.
Right? When you try it, try to see if it works.
Okay.
So, but if it still did not work, you can do this. Let me give you. What's the name of the other person that was getting an error? Both of you can try this. You can just try to clear the cache to see if it will work. If you use PHP artisan clear can catch clear. If you do this, or let's just say route. Let me see if I got that command right. Yeah, so if you run that command, this command, can you run it? Or better still, let's clear everything and just say PHP artisan optimize. PHP artisan optimize clear. If you do this, let me try this as well. Yeah, if you do this, we can run these two commands, or just run the last one that I sent. Nice, clear, and then try to start the server again and see whether everything is okay. If not, then you can just chill after the class. You can attend to it, right? So let me know if you have any updates on that. So now that we've been able to run our first code, let's now use what we call the MVC architecture. Okay, what do we mean really by saying MVC architecture? When we say MVC, right, it is an architecture that we use for creating a full stack application. And when I say full stack, I hope you understand that I mean that the front end will be inside the Laravel application as well as the back end. In this case, it will not be API calls really. Okay, Laravel will do the HTTP request sending from behind the wood. Okay, if there was time, the first class that I took, I wanted to show us how that really works, but we don't need to bother ourselves with it because you will see, since we are now in Laravel, you will see how it does it. So MVC means model view controller. It means we have the model, we have the view, and we have the controller. So from the stuff that I've created, that I could have created here, you will also be able to see all these 5 structures that I've mentioned and the MVC architecture that we properly explained there. Okay, with examples. The models, if you check our file here, right, we explain what models are. We explain what models are. That models are data layers or classes that handles data structures by interacting directly with the database table. Okay, so we have that model. It's mediates with the controller. So the view is the part that handles the front end code, which is the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But because it's going to be a PHP file, it can also, get PHP variables, look through it or display it or something like that. Do you understand? So view is the front end part of things, what the users see directly. Don't forget that I said that Laravel, in this case, in the case of MVC, Laravel is handling both the front end and the back end. So what the user sees is the view, which is the V. The model is the class that handles the data structure, mediating directly with the database. Okay. The controller now is the class that handles the application logic, right? So it gets the data from the model. The model handles the business logic. That is anything that has to do with model computation and data computation, computing some logics or some algorithms to manipulate the data, right? And then it gives that to the controller. The controller checks it. If there's any other logic it needs to add, meanwhile, it will handle the request validation. There's a way you do that, and then there are ways to handle the request separately when validating. We will get there. But just to make you understand what the responsibility of the controller is, right? The controller handles that. The application logic mediates between the data. Now the request has come in from the route. Don't forget, the request came into the route. The route is passing the logic to the controller. The controller will now, okay, I'm here now. I have the request with me. This request needs to get some data in the database, then it will speak to the model. If the request does not need to get data from the database, it will do whatever it needs to do, and then it will release the view, what the user needs to see, which is the output, to the view file. In this case, it's called the blade template. Blade template. So this MVC, in this case now, will be model. Let's make this bigger. So it will be model view control, right? And the view in this case will be blade template. The Laravel uses blade template. Blade template. And what that means is, instead of using direct HTML, I said that is what the user sees. But instead of using direct HTML, because remember, that is the HTML that handles the front end, what the user sees at the front end. It handles the elements that you see, all these boxes and whatever is HTML that does that. So instead of just directly rendering HTML, it changes that it includes the HTML code in a PHP file, right? So PHP can run HTML code. We already tried that. It can run HTML code. And it includes the HTML and also includes other PHP variables, just for it to be able to run both. So blade templates will now provide some ways of handling variables, ways of doing some specific things in Laravel framework. So it's just blade template is combining HTML and combining PHP. It has the capacity to run PHP in its own syntax and then run HTML and other accompanying languages like CSS and JavaScript. So blade template is that powerful. We have other templates, but Laravel uses blade template. It is specific to Laravel. Okay. And we now understand what the model view controller architecture means, right? The first thing that gets the request is the controller. The controller now gets the data from the model if that request needs data, right? For example, your username, you put your username and password. When it gets to the application, the route, you remember that is the route that will get the request from the front end. Okay. When you send the request for the first time, this goes straight to your route, although there are still some stages that it will pass through, but we are not there yet. But at the end of the day, it will get to eat your route, and that's what happened here. We eat our route, okay, because we specified this in the browser. It will get here, and then it will call this function, okay, then and run everything that is inside this function. I want us to get that flow clearly. It is nothing magical. It's something that we should understand, right? This route is being called from the browser slash, this is our base URL slash hello world. When we send it, what Laravel will do is call this function and try to run all the code that we have in this function. Okay, so if I'm going to use now I'm not using the model view controller method because I'm passing my function directly in here. Now let's try the model view controller method. So what I would do is, before I do this, let me first remove this guy. Okay, we are coming back to use it. Now what I would do is, let's create a, we already have a model, right? So because when you install Laravel, you have a default model here. Okay. So let's create another model now. Create a product model, call it product. Okay. And then we will also create a controller inside our, I said you have a controller inside the HTTP. So you have the controller. Don't worry about some of these terms. Don't worry. We'll definitely, by the time we understand the basics of how you do the applications. When you now learn these things, so when we tell you something about these things, these terms, it will not confuse you. Right now, we are not mentioning it because it might confuse you further. Get the very basics first. So you have your controller folder. So what we'll do is we will run an artisan command. Let me clear what we have here first, right? Then now let's run an artisan command to create a file. Although we can create the file directly by just saying, by right-clicking and saying new file. But then to make things faster, Laravel provides a command to run, create some of these files. So what is the command to create a controller? This artisan PHP artisan make controller. Right? Then we leave a space and then provide the name of the controller. A controller in this case is just a class, and I will come and explain that once we see how it works. So we are going to say, let's say user. Okay, let's say user, and I will press enter. Let me see, did we make a mistake? We must have made a mistake. Okay, yes, there's a mistake here, and that's why it's not run it. So let me clear this first. Clear, and then let me go and edit this controller, not controller. Controller. See, it has created a file here and called it user controller. So this controller now is a simple class. Can you see? It's a class. So I'll come and explain the structure of the class for us so that we don't get confused. So now just know how to create a controller. So within this controller now, we will create a method. A method is similar to how you create a function, right? But because it belongs to that class, that is why it is called a method. You remember how you create function, the last class, right? In this case, we are going to try to create a function inside this class, but because it is inside this class, we'll call it a method. Okay, so we'll now say public. We'll say function. You can see that we are putting this. That's just to tell us the access level that the method will have, or that other people will have on the method. Okay, so we have public function. Then we'll now say, let's say index. That's just a name. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just a name. You can call it anything. But in Laravel, we usually use index for whatever we want to show as default. Okay, what's the default thing we want to see when we try to access this route? Index. So we say index, then we create it in this format. So you can see this is a function inside this class. Right, we can have as many functions or as many methods as possible. Don't be confused. If a function belongs to a class, if it's created inside a class like this, it is a method. If you, in this case, bring this out and you are not putting it inside that class, you see that it's complaining about this because the accessor is not needed at all. So you need this guy only. And in this case, you have to specify a name as well and say index. That's what we call it index. Okay, we already have index here. And this is a function. Okay. So, but then the moment you attempt to create it inside a class, then it becomes a method. All right. So just know that that's just a basic explanation of difference you can have between those two terms, right? So now the name of our function of our method is index. The access level is public. Okay, if it is private, then it means other classes cannot access it. They cannot access this. But because it is public, we can access it from this web route, from this web route file. So now we will now declare our return, that same code inside this place. This is a string, return a string, hello world, and then close, tell PHP that we are done with that line. Okay, now we'll come back here and write our route. Okay, and we'll say route, get this, let's close it. Then we'll now put our hello dashboard. Okay, comma. Now we will need to import our user controller class into this file. So we are now going to say put that square bracket, okay, and then bring in our user controller. And you see this VS Code is suggesting it for me. So I will just look at what happened here. By the time I click on it now, look at what we have here. You see that it's just one line that is here. By the time I click on it, look at it has imported this guy. So you use to import a class. Okay, you use. If you need to use a class, this will just give you the namespace that will link to this using the appropriate standard, that is PSR. So don't worry about that as well. You will get to. So some of these terms are important because we really want you to grow from here to, being an expert in whatever thing that relates to PHP. And that is why I will not say, because I don't want to explain it now, I will not use the right term. No. So you will just be familiar that I've heard it before, right? But that's why you hear me using those terms. So now you put column, and then you put class, and then you now mention, you type the name of whatever you name your method here. Type it here. And that's all. So what do we have? We have a square bracket open, square bracket close. Then we'll bring our class, which we have imported here. If you don't import it here, this will underline as red, saying it doesn't know how to get that far because it's not defined at the top. So make sure you have it imported. Okay. And then you specify the name of the class, put column, and put class in front. That's the syntax, right? There's no reason why we do that. That's just how Laravel wants us to do it. Okay. And then we will bring the name of the method that we are calling. So we are saying anytime the user tries to access this route, right, call this controller class and then use this method. Run whatever logic that we included in this method. Okay, so if you come here now, right, make sure that they are saved. When you update, you make sure you save it. Then now run your server. PHP server, and you press enter. Starts running. Then you come here, and then you run it again, and you see that it's giving you the same thing. Let's go and edit what we have there. Let's say, put your name there, hello world, Adebayo. Put your name there, hello world, comma, space, and your name. Then come back here, save it, and then can you see? So now you have been able to implement the controller, although you don't have the model here in this case. So we are going to introduce the model and the view now. Okay.
So when So when you served it, which URL did you go to? Okay, hello world.
The URL that it provides. When you serve, it will provide you the URL and the
Yeah,
port.
I mean, was it slash? Was slash hello world you went to?
Okay, yes, that's the one that I specified here.
Okay.
Do you get?
Thank you.
If I change it here, I will also need to change it there because that will no longer be found. Okay, so if I say world 2 now and I save it, if I come here and I refresh, it will not find it. It will say not found. So I will have to put world 2 here. I will have to put 2 here. So but let me change it back because we want to use world. So now if I refresh it, come. I hope we are getting along. So that is that. So now let's go to using view. Okay, to use view, we'll have to take this guy into a proper blade template file. Okay, so now let's go and create our view. So for us, I mentioned that you could use artisan command or you could create it directly. So in this case now, I will create it directly so that you see that. So you just come to your resource. Don't forget that I said resources is used for holding your front end views. So when you open resources, you see views, and then that directory will always be there. Just right click and say new file, and then you now say, for example, hello dashboard. You can name it anything, it doesn't have to be. So you put .blade.php. Make sure you put .blade before your PHP, then you save it. Okay, .blade.php. When you name it, the name .blade then .php. So now when you come here, right, inside your blade file, let's say we now want to impute our stuff. Let's first just put this guy. Let's just put this guy there for now. Without no HTML or nothing. It's just hello world without anything. And we save it. Then we come here to say view, right? Open bracket, then pass the name of this guy. This view starts from this view that you typed. It points directly to this views directory. So anything you must type here must be whatever is inside this view. So I will say hello -world. But in this case, you will not put .blade.php. If you have a folder inside it, let's say you created a folder inside it and say user, okay, and then you now put your hello world inside this user. The way you will call it must be, I said this view points to this view directory. Then what you must impute here must be user dot. Okay, so this user will be pointing to this user directory, and this last thing that will now be pointing to the hello world that you have put inside this guy. I want to move it inside. Yes, I've moved it inside the user now. So this is the right way to call it because it is inside the user directory. So this view, don't forget, this view points to what? This view directly, directory, and this user now will point to another directory that is inside the view. If I create another folder inside this user again, then it will have to be, let's say I create another folder there and I call it first name, or I call it greeting. And then inside that greeting, I now put this hello world. Then what will I type here? I will type user.greeting.hello world until I get there. So each of these will now be directory, which is folder, then the blade file. Do you understand? If you don't understand, please ask me. I will answer. So, but for now, what we are calling is user.hello world. So we'll say user.hello world. And then I'll save it, right? Inside this place, I will now say hello Adebayo. And save it. If I come here now and I refresh it, can you see that it's working? So now I have been able to implement a user, a model view architecture. A controller view architecture. Although there's nothing like that. If you are going to to use MVC, you use MVC, because by the time you will definitely need to use data, because you will definitely need to use data. If you need to call or get any data, you have to get that data from within the controller. Do you understand? So that makes it proper MVC. But because we don't need data right now, this route does not need any data. That's why we are not using model yet. Okay, so that is that. So this controller is interacting with what? The view. There is a model right here, which is user. So if I need to now call this model, then I will have to specify this is a variable. You can say user, and I say find a user by the name or by the ID 1. Then if I now pass this guy into the view, you'll be able to see the name of that user. But this is interacting with the model, and this is interacting with the view. So because I'm returning it, that's why you can see, like, I might not return it and I say view, maybe I'm passing it as a variable, and then I'm now returning the variable. It is the same thing. It's always going to give me the same thing. Okay, because I've not connected to any database, let me comment this out. Remember our commenting style is the way you comment, just // or you put your mouse at the beginning and press Ctrl // it will comment it. Okay, so when you save this and then you come here to still give you the same thing. Okay, so that is that. So we have been able to successfully run our first MVC application. Any question from anyone before? Someone said, please, your screen is small. No, you need to pin it. Look at what I'm doing. You will just click on this thing to pin it from your end. If you do this, it will make it big. Do you get? You have to do that to make it big sometimes. So you just click on pin. So if I say on pin, it will be small again. So you can do that from your end. Okay. Sorry about that. I wasn't checking messages. So any question from anyone before we proceed? Okay. So if there's no question from anyone, Tiniola, are you there? Hello? Okay. Okay, good. So I hope you are also getting along. All right. So you are going to try this. If you have not done this now, please, you go home and try yours. Okay. All right, that's fine. Thank you. You go home and try yours, right? So then we'll move straight to working with databases. Okay, we'll move straight to that. We have to tell you what databases are and the migrations, and then we'll create a simple CRUD application. CRUD means create, that's a C. R means retrieve, U means update, and D means delete. We'll create a simple CRUD application. I hope we'll be able to finish that quickly. But then let's move to what databases are. But then before we do that, you remember that our view, we only put this guy here. We didn't create a proper HTML structure. You should always have a proper HTML structure in your view. Okay, so let's remove this guy and then you remember the way I said we should be creating our HTML structure. Just type, either you type HTML5, can you see HTML5? It will suggest it for you, then you select it. Okay, or you type doc and you select it too. But always use this HTML5. I recommend that. Okay, so this will give you the proper HTML5 structure. Okay, this is our HTML first. We're not into front end, so I won't say too much on that. So now we'll paste our. If I put this guy here now, let's say I now want to put it inside the GIF. Let me first remove inside the body, maybe I now want to type a div, right? And in my div, I want my div to now have a class of, I shouldn't be doing this, but just to make you see that it still works the way it will work in any other this thing. I want to say main, then maybe at the head, I'm not saying star, then I say that's main. Don't worry about this, so please don't bother yourself about account, except if you know about front end, this is front end, you don't need to. Then I'm saying blue, then I'm saying adding, I'm saying 20 pixel. Okay, then I paste my hello world in here. If I save this, I just put some styling, this CSS, and then if I save this, you'll see that I come here to say refresh. Can you see? So this is Laravel doing its magic for you to tell you that I can always give you the front end and the back end. Okay, that's that. Maybe I now say color, and then I say white. So can you see what we are saying? Laravel is that powerful. So now let's move over straight up to our, if you have any question, please ask. Let's move straight to databases. Okay, so Laravel supports database. There is also an article on that you can always refer to, so no worries. Laravel supports several databases. Let me stuff. Yeah, so Laravel supports databases like RDMS. RDBMS are relational database management system, and those are the ones that use SQL. They're SQL compliant, right? So an example of that is MySQL or MySQL, as you want to call it. So then other ones are Postgres SQL or PostgreSQL, depends on how you prefer to call it. Other ones are SQLite. SQLite is like a file, it's a small file. It's a miniature form of using SQL. Then you have SQL Server. SQL Server is from Microsoft. It's Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, so those are the types of RDBMS or SQL compliant database that you can have. So the very popular one is MySQL, and that's what we'll be focusing on today. I would have said we should just use, to be faster, I would have said we should just use SQLite, but the fact that some people are getting errors and not make us want to use that. But thankfully, we've installed XAMPP before now, so we can use the PHP MyAdmin. XAMPP means the cross-platform Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Apache, MySQL, cross-platform, that's the X. Apache, MySQL, PHP, and Perl. There are two P's there. That's what XAMPP means. So we will use the MySQL that is inside XAMPP to connect to, because the reason why we are using that is because we need to have a valid connection that we can connect to. So by the time we do that, I believe those are getting database-related errors. We stop getting those errors. So without wasting much time, we are going to delve into that. If you have XAMPP, please open it. If you have installed XAMPP, please open it. If you have not, you might need to download it and install it. I think we have a class already that covers that. So please open XAMPP. Open XAMPP. We do have XAMPP. Open XAMPP. XAMPP. We can also use MySQL Workbench as a MySQL, the regular MySQL client. But then let's use PHP. I need to connect to just make things faster and easier. I was thinking I would have XAMPP. Okay, yes, I do have it, but I think it's called for Mac. Yes, This is what you open, manager OSX. It's what houses that guide. So I'm going to, so please open your XAMPP. Make sure it is running, right? So I'm going to start my own XAMPP now to make sure that it is running. So I'll go to manage server. You can see that everything is stopped. So I'll click on my SQL database start. It is starting, so I'll wait for it. Let me click on Apache while that is starting. Click on Apache web server and click on start as well. Okay, so my SQL is running, Apache is running. So if I come here and say, go to application, let me see, then it should open. I don't think I want to use you. Let me just copy. I want to use Safari here. Sorry, don't waste our time. Okay, so I want to do it here. So here, so if you can type that, if you cannot, you just go to XAMPP and just type local. Just go to a browser and type localhost. Okay, once you type localhost, don't put any port and just type localhost. It should take you to this page, and then just go to PHP My Admin. If you have any concern, please, you can let me know. Let me know if you have any concern or any issue from your end. Let me know. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
I don't know. I'm not sure when did we mark users. I don't think we marked users installed XAMPP at any point. I think I didn't even have it installed.
Okay, please download. Let's try to do that. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's say download, just so that we can use the same environment. It's not that there are no other things that we can use. So download XAMPP. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
For Mac. Let's say download XAMPP for Mac. Okay, and then you see this. Let's go there. Then just try to select. You can see that it gives you the different versions with different PHP versions. So please note the version on your PHP and don't select any one that is higher. You can select the one that is lower, but don't select the one that is higher. Look at this one now. The PHP is 8.1.25. If the PHP version on your system is higher than this, if it is higher than this, that is when you can download this. If it is lower than this, don't download it. Don't download it. So now I remember that you now know how to check the PHP version on your system, which is PHP space -v or -- version. That will give you the version of the PHP system. So you can then download. It's going to download normal installable DMG file. Then you can now run it and install it. Okay. That makes sense. Ibukun, did you get that?
And yeah, so we should download, like currently I'm on PHP 8.4.3. So
you checked it, it's 8.4.3.
Yes, PHP 8.4.3, yes.
Okay, so download any of these guys. You can download, you can just download the one here.
Okay.
This which has the highest PHP. So the idea is you should not download the one whose PHP is higher than what you have on your because it will not work. So that is that. Okay. I even think that it doesn't matter because it will be bundled with PHP. Yes, it doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter. That just came to my head now. Whether or not you have PHP that is lower than this, what will happen is XAMPP will bundle this PHP inside itself. So as you are downloading, you're already downloading PHP 8.2.12 together with it. So it doesn't conflict with the PHP version you have in your system. Yeah. So please just go ahead and download it. So if there's no other question, let's just move ahead. You can just keep installing until you are able to do the same thing we are doing. So now, just create a database. Click on databases. If you are on PHP localhost, PHP my admin, please can you show some reaction? Let's be sure that we have at least one person following. If you are on that page, show some reaction. Is there anyone? So it means nobody has been able to check that. Okay. So please just, if you cannot do it now, do it later, since the video will be recorded. Please do it later. And if you have any question, please let me know. Now when you click on database, right? Now make sure that whatever name you want to use, right? Whatever database name you want to use, or whatever you have put here, you can always change it anyways, is what you are creating there, right? So I'm going to change this guy to Techhaven underscore tutorial. Okay, that's the name of my database. I will copy it, and then I will say databases, then I will paste it here. I'll paste it here. All right. And then I would like to change the encoding to Unicode underscore CI, right? UTF-8 MB4 underscore Unicode underscore CI. We'll use that, and then I will create it. So I've created that database now. Because it has no password or anything, you can see that when I open localhost in my admin, it just brought me here straight. It didn't ask me to enter any password. So in that case, I won't be putting any password here. And then I'll assume that it uses root user by default. That's what it means. It uses root. So if you want to confirm, you can go to home and then go to user account. Then you can see that it's using root, right? So it means when you use localhost, it will go through. When you use this IP of localhost, it will go through. They all have the privileges. Okay. So now let's go back to our database. And now, because we have connected, we should be able to use our database now without any issue. So it means Ibukun, or I don't know who that person was that was having that error. By the time you do this and you pass the actual database name that you have created on your XAMPP, you should not have any error anymore. You should, because it will be able to connect. Who is the person?
Yes, it was me. Yeah, but
Okay.
I'll try this one. I'm still telling XAMPP. Right.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So now we will go to what we call migration, because we have been able to put this guy here, and this env environment variables is going to be used within the database configuration. You can say I went to config and I will go to database. So the configurations there will be used here. Can you see? The configurations there will be used here. Okay, not in here. Yeah, it's going to be used here. It's going to be used here. So if you don't pass it, it's going to be using this guy. If you don't put anything there, it's going to be using this default. That's why we have this one there. If you have it, if it has a value, right, it will use the value. If it doesn't have a value like this one, right, to use whatever is passed as the second. You can see that they didn't. If they pass something here, because I didn't put anything here, it will throw an error because my actual database does not have a password. So it will be attempting to use the password here or whatever I put here. And that's why you see that there is nothing here. So ensure that there is nothing here. Okay. So that is that, right? Once you have been able to confirm those, you can see that I didn't do anything really. I just changed the database name here. And I make sure that I have my localhost here. I have my port right here. the connection I'm using is MySQL, which is the same as what you have inside that. Can you see? It's the same as what you have here, right? So we can. This is what I was asking you to use the other time, SQLite. Okay. So we are using MySQL. Now let's go to migrations. Right. What are migrations? I'm going to just quickly check through. Migrations are in Laravel. They provide a version control system for your database schema, allowing you to define and modify tables using PHP instead of raw SQL. So you want to insert tables, you want to create tables inside your database. Instead of using the raw SQL command or raw SQL code, you use migration to handle that. And that will make so much sense if you have more developers or contributors on that application at the same time. You are somewhere developing on this application, I am somewhere doing something else on the same application. We can always see what we have modified from the migration table. Okay, so that is why Laravel provided that, so that anything that I've updated, right, you'll be able to see it, and it will not be in raw SQL code. Okay, so for some that might not really know what MySQL or relational database is, maybe you are confused by me mentioning table or anything. This is how our DMS table is. It works like a normal table, right? A normal table, what you have is, this is how it saves your data, because that's what the database is for. It's only it saves data. You can save the data, you can read the data, which is try to get data. You can retrieve it, which is the same thing as read. You can, create is the same thing as inserting data into it. You can update it. You can delete it. So it will save it as tables, normal tables, like the way you have the normal tables. This thing is not going to give me what I want. So tables now that you have in. Yeah, let me just use this grid. Look at this grid. You see the way these grids are. So you have your rows, your columns. These are columns. And then you have your rows. So if I want to use this now, for example, not to confuse us, let me just very small. This is it. It's going to be a table. Don't mind the drawing. It might not be that straight. See, this is a table. So in this table now, this is the way MySQL will, RDBMS will save it, not just MySQL ID. Maybe this is called, if this is called users, maybe this table, the table name is users. That means I want to store the details about users there. Users that have accounts with in the application. For example, Facebook now, they will have something like this. This is what you have. So the moment they create a data for you, you will have an ID. Let's say your ID is 1. Then maybe you now have another field or column that is called first name. First name. You have another one that is called last name. Then you have another one that is called other names. You now have another one that is called email. That's the way it will. Then you continue to have like that for as many data as they would like to save. Password. So they will continue to save your details, whatever. Anything that pertains, that is specific to you, because it is user table, right? If they want to now save, they can say, okay, for us to have profile, they can create another table and call it profile. They can create another table and call it products, right? So let me just duplicate this, and let's see it like we have a proper yeah. So you can have as many. So you can now have the same thing like this, right? And then we say it is the table name in this case will be products. So this is the way the database will be, products. So then we have an ID, then we have the product name, right? We have product ID, something for product, and SKU, something we call SKU for product. You know, yeah, let's say price, fixed price for it. Let's say we want to put the variations, and then we say size, and then we say color or whatever that is specific to that table, so that product. So a single record like this, we have all of those details. So that's how data MySQL or any other RDBMS will save their tables. Okay. So now for you to be able to create a table, you will have to create a migration. By creating a migration, you will go to what you are expecting is that you have a file that will be created here. Okay. So we have already, when you install my Laravel, you have some default migrations that have been created for you. For example, look at this. This is a typical example of a migration. Okay, so it will have two methods. You can see that it's a normal class, but it has two methods, right? Up and down. How did I know? This is down, it's named down, and this is named up. Okay, and then they now have this code inside it. Okay, so then this is how they specify the table. So the name of the table is going to be users. The ID will be ID. That's a field. There's going to be a field called ID. Okay, and then another field will be called name, and the data type. So what they specify for is the data type, because they know that IDs are always integers, whether big integer or whatever not integer. So they will automatically use big integers. Okay, so string now we use name. It means a field will be called name. You can always change it before you run your migration. Then they will have another field called email, but they want that to be unique per person. They don't want multiple users to use different emails, to use the same email rather. So they will pass unique to it. Don't worry, you learn this as things go on. Then timestamp, that's just to keep the time that that user was created. You will see how this will work by the time we run the migration. So then string, okay, password, and then remember tokens. Maybe you want to be remembered when you log in. Then timestamps as to create an updated. So this is for email verified. I think the name of this one is email verified at. When you verify if you have not verified your email, right, when you first create an account on the platform, it will not allow you to log in. You know how some websites work like that. So this is the field that they will use to handle that. And that's it. So this down is used to tear down any record or any data or the whole database itself. So in case you want to tear it down and recreate it, you will call this guy. You will see how the command works now. So having this guy, we have other ones too. Your own might be that you have everything inside one file. Your own might be, because of the version you are using, you might have different, so it doesn't matter. Okay, you can have you can have multiple tables specified in the same method. Or I can put product here. I say product, then I specify my fields. So it is you that knows what you need. So it's you that will determine what field do I need to create. Okay, so but let me show us how migration or what migration command looks like. So let me first clear what we have here so to not confuse us. Let me reduce this. count the number of files that we have here, because it's going to add another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's say PHP artisan serve. Okay. I'm sorry, I said artisan serve. PHP artisan. It will be make migration. Okay. So you don't need to cram these things. With time you get used to it, because I didn't cram it as well. Migration, then you will now specify the name of the table. So the way you will write it to be create, because you are creating the table, a new table, products, right? Underscore table. You can see that it's just simple English. Create products table. So the name of the products of the table will be products. So if I run this now, you can see it has added a new, and then you can see that it has. So it's just basically the same thing. Automatically, it knows that it must have an ID, which should be the primary key, right? And it must have the timestamp, which is the create time. So I can now begin to add other things. Say, I would like to have table name. Then what's the data type of that table? It's just string. Right. What else did I mention here? Name, SKU, price, size. So I'll just say table. Then that SKU is also going to be string, because it's just random. It's an SKU, right? Table. Then now says size could be float, like decimal. So I can use double, or I use float, depending on whatever I want. There is a difference between double and float. One has longer decimal, double has longer decimal points, and float has, is not able to hold as much decimal points as double is able to. And then there's this flexibility too that you have with double. Okay, and it has some understanding, mental understanding on how it works with the device or disk on MySQL. But don't bother about that. That's my little advantage for you to take in now. So yeah, double. So you can specify and then you say size. Okay. And then color, right? So you say table. Then you say color. Color should be string. Okay. So you just want to type red, blue. So you say color. Okay. So that's that. Now I'll specify you. So when you say PHP, now it has not created anything. You can see that there's nothing here. So all things being equal, if I run this code, PHP artisan migrate. Okay, PHP artisan. So this is to create the table. Let me drop it here. You also find it inside the article. By the time you watch the video again, you'll see it there. Okay, and then to migrate it, let's do this. So by the time you enter this guy, and you see, it will create all these, all the tables that you have here. But then it's saying this table of view already exists. Products. Okay, do we have? I already have. Yeah, that's because I already have a file. I didn't know that I've created one already. So I'll just remove that. Then I can run it again. It will not run the ones that it has run before. This table already exists. So it has created that one. That's why. So make sure that you don't have the same table having the same name. Multiple tables having the same name. That's what happened. Okay. So if I go and check now, it might be the first one. So let's go and check now that we have run it. Because we can tell that some ran properly. Like this one's done. It was when you got to products that it failed. So if we come here and we refresh this thing, you can now see. So we have our users product. So this products now, it's not having, it's the first one that is there. So I will just delete it and run the, so I will delete this guy and mark that, and then I'd say drop. It's asking me do I really want to? You have to be sure so that I don't drop a table that has data. And then in my migrations, I'll make sure that I remove this guy because I saved it here so that I can keep track that it has. And so now if I come here and I say migrate, you can see that's run it successfully. So if I go back there and I click on this guy, now I have my products that now has all the stuff that so this created and an updated part, they will automatically be included once you put this timestamps here. Look at you, remember that it has, note that it has S timestamps. Like unlike this one in the user, timestamps. So these timestamps will automatically include, once you have it there, to automatically include created ads and updated ads. So this is a database now. So now you have a database. Okay. So if I go to my CIDR, CIDR is used to input default data. Maybe when you run your migration or you try to use your application when it is on the server on your system, you want to have some data that will be preloaded. You know, it's not all the time that you want to wait that. So you won't be able to test your application if you don't have any user in the record at all, because you won't be able to log in. Okay, so you want to make sure that at least one user is created there, or one product or whatever. So that's where you use CIDR. Okay, and then if I come here, you can see they already gave me a way to do it because they provided that user table for me. And factory, so I've told you what migration is. Migration is used to run or to create your database structure. CIDR is used to insert default data into your tables. Migration will create a table. CIDR will provide records that can be default records that can be inserted in this table directly without using raw SQL. You see that I didn't use raw SQL to do that. We migrate. So factory will provide default fake data. Look at this. This is a user factory, right? You can create more factory. I will create a product factory now. This is telling me that based on your structure, you can use name, and then it will automatically by itself provide a fake name. Email, it will provide a fake email that is safe to use. Email verified, it will provide now. Now means time. It means use the current time that we are in. Okay. Then password, it will provide a password that is already hashed. Okay, that's already hashed, and then the password actually is password, right? And then remember token, it will just set a random string for it. So let me create a factory too for products and say PHP artisan make factory. You can see that it's the same pattern. PHP artisan make, PHP artisan make. So factory, then you pass whatever you want to make on factory. In this case now, I want to make product. I see that this one is user factory. So product factory. Okay, and then I'll press enter. So it has included this guy. Okay, so I can now say based on my structure, I can look at my structure, right? If I say structure, so ID, name, SKU, so I can now start putting name. Let it provide a fake name for me as well. So just look at the way it's done here, fake name. So you come here and say you want to use fake, just provide a fake name. It's just for development purpose. You cannot use this in production. It's just for you to be able to test. Okay. So what else do I have? I have SKU. That should be SKU should be a random. It should also be a random string. Let's get what's here. So random 10. So we can also just use random 10 and just say random 10. Okay. What else do we have? What else do we have? I think we have size and we have price. Did we include price in our Oh, we forgot that, but that's fine. Forgot that. So price. Because what you have in your structure is what you should use. Size, and then we see fake. This will not work. I don't think there is that. It will not work. It will not work. So let's just say fake number, or you can as well pass a direct this thing there. You can just say you want some random number. You get just some random number, or maybe you just say some random number from 2 digits, 4 digits. You get this minimum, this maximum. You can do that as well. And then what else do we have there? Color. So you can just say random. Let's say random color name. So you must be sure that because it's an array, so I should not be using semicolon there. So that's that. So like this now, okay, if I come to because I've set my factory for product, I've set my factory for user. If I come here and then I say inside let's leave this guy commented, just leave that. I can just say, let's bring in our user factory or our user model, because we must have a user model. And say user, let me bring it in because it exists model, so it has been used. I told you that for you to be able to use any class, it must be imported. It has been used. Now, then I can say factory, right? Then I can specify how many I want to create, how many data will I have to create? Do I want to create? Let's create 10 records. Okay. And then for products, I don't think we have a model for product yet. Let's check our model table. Model should be inside app, then models. So we only have user. That's why I can import this guy. So let's create a model, PHP. And students won't forget this. So if you need to practice it. Yes, so PHP artisan make model. Okay, and then I'll just say product, just product, but it has to be singular, right? You see the other ones, the other one is user, not users. So product, and then you press enter. Okay, so in this case now, because we now have a product model, we can now use that product model. You can see that the structure is just something simple, just a simple class, and they imported this guy here, right? So let's don't want to start mentioning traits so that you won't be further confused. So just know that it's as simple as what it is here. So we learn as we move forward. So let's go back to our CDA, which will be inside database CDAs, then CDA. So we'll now call our product model now and say products. The moment I click on it now, because it's suggesting it for me to import it. If it's not suggesting for you, make sure that you import it properly. App, models, products, right? So you must follow the structure. And basically what you are following is the namespace here. App, models, then the name of the file, okay? So inside CDA, we have imported it, app, models, products. And then we'll see the factory. And you say create how many records? Let's just say create 5 records. So it's going to use this fake stuff factory that we have used here and use this model to just be generating fake name for SKU random 10 digits, for size any random number, for color, it's just going to generate some random stuff for us and for users based on the way we have define this guy here, it's going to work that way too. And then when we say PHP, some DB seed, when we run this guy, what's the problem? Argument 2 must be of type array, integer given. For which one? For which one? That is for
users, I guess.
Yeah, for user, right? So that's on line that's DB seed, and 25, that's for users. So it's saying element 2 be of type array, integer given. So let's see. Let's see where we are given. Wait, where should we have an array? Because we need to be sure. We need to be sure. Oh, okay, yeah. That's what it's saying here. So it's saying that we might need to specify it in this way because there are some stuff that were not specified inside this place. We have some values that were not created or specified, and that's why they give us this model. So let's just copy this guy, okay, and put it inside this guy. If to say they specified the name and the email there, we would have been able to do it the way we would do this, okay. But because they didn't specify some, which one did they not specify? Name and email. Let's see. Yeah, it was specified. It was specified, but then let's see. Let's check. Let's check and see what we have. And that's because we are using their default one. We had created ourselves. We'll have been able to, monitor our structure ourselves. So let me clear this guy. And then I say DB seed. Another error. Let's see. Unknown random. Oh, okay. Where is that? Unknown format. Product factory. Line 21. So I come here. Fake random SKU. So now that's what they used right here. Oh, they are using string. They are not using fake. Okay, so there is a class that we can use, and that's what we want to use right here. If we are not using that class, there's a way to do it in PHP too. Okay, so this is throwing a red error to tell you that it has not been imported. This class was not imported. So if you come here, you should be able to see the way they imported it here. Okay, and then bring it in. So if you are not specifying this way, you can create your own simple logic. In fact, if I just put some gibberish there, something like this, it will use that same value for me, in as much as that field is not unique. Okay, just because we want it to be a little dynamic, that's why we are putting these guys here. So don't worry too much about that. It's not an issue at all. So let me say clear. I like to have the terminal clear while I run. Okay. Integrity constraint violation, duplicate entry. Okay, because we have used this guy. So as we are running it, it was creating those data. And now we have used test value. So let's use admin. Because remember that in our migration, the structure of the user is unique. So you cannot enter the same email for multiple persons. Do you understand? That's why it threw that error for you. So if you come here, so you see what I'm doing. Once I get an error, I will read it and try to see what it says. Then I'll go and fix it. It's not deep at all. Just follow whatever error that you get and attend to it. Understand why it's throwing that error and try to do the right thing. So now, in this case, I will say Adebayo. And then when I come back here and I say clear, then I say DB seed. We eventually need to have our integer given. So I mean, we would have some data now let's just check. We should have some data now. Oh, time has come. We would have some data now if we try to check again, and then we click on users. Yeah, so we have 2 records. Can you see? We have 2 records already. So we have 2 records. You can see even with that error, it still entered my stuff for me. If we have time, we'll have been able to look into why it was showing that error. So you see, we have a name, test user, another name, and Adebayo Olukunle. Then we have test, we have admin. So we have all these things. For products, let's see. Okay, because that one was throwing error. So let's just comment this guy out. And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Name, SKU, size, color. Yeah. So by the time we run our DB seed, okay. So let's see whether if nothing creates, then do not worry. We can always attend to this the next time in the next class. Don't worry, because time has gone now. But at least we have a record. Okay. So the last thing we are going to do is just to bring that our record into. Let me close all this. Right. So let's go to our routes. Web. This is our controller, right? So if we come here, and this is our. So for us to now be able to find, can you see? So this code that we commented the other time, it means use the model, which is the model, to find the user with ID 1. That's what this command means. And what is the user with ID 1? It's test username. This guy. So now we are saying find that guy. So when you find it, pass it to this view, because we need to display the person's name. Pass it to that view. So inside our route now, inside this view, we come to resources, views, user, hello world. So we now want to display the person's name here, right? Then we can say, instead of using echo, because it's a blade template, this is what it understands as echo, right? This is one of the things it understands as echo. Okay, so instead of, you don't type echo anywhere in the Laravel application, please, right? Just bring in, so it automatically bring in this variable that we have included here, right? You just type user, then arrow, like you are specifying, pointing to an object. You remember the way we did our object the other time, because this is an object, okay? Then you point it to one of the, can access any of these fields. In this case, name. It's the name. Then you save. So if you go and start the server now and say PHP and serve, and then you say you reload it, undefined variable user. Okay, let me see what happens right there. Okay, hello world. So let me see if this guy is saying anything. I don't want us to stop this class on with an error. So I just want to, I know our time is already fast spent. We are going to finish up now. So it's showing here, right? But then when we pass this guy here, okay, yes, I know why now. Because we are specifying it incorrectly. I was rushing because of, this is supposed to be an array, okay? So it's either you use compact, user, or, and what this compact user will give you is the same thing as this, user, just array. You remember the way we created an array? It's the same thing as this guy. So this is what I should have put there, or I put compact user. Okay, but because I was rushing. So if I either use this or I use this, it will work. Let's see it now. Don't forget we are passing user right, into this guy, right, and we are calling it. So this should not be a variable. We are passing it using impact, should not be a variable. It'll be like this, right? So let's see what happens when we run it. And you see that it's working. Test user. So if I come here and I change the name from test user to Ibukun, Adebola, and I just come here, can you see? Because I changed this from the database directly. Can you see? It's showing. So I can call the email as well. I can now say key, then I can say my email is then echo. This is the echo. Don't forget, this is the echo for Laravel. So behind the wood is going to be using echo, but it doesn't want you to type echo here at all. So it's going to be then user email. And you see my email is, what's the email we have here? So the start is where you can call any of the data specific to that user one, because we use the user one, find user one here. Okay, so if I change that compact to this guy, it will still work. But this guy will have to be string. You remember this is the way we specify an array. Okay, so that compact will just create an array for you. Name you. And you see that it's still working. It's still working. So that is, I know this might be a lot to take in, right? And that's because we've used the past few weeks to install and do some things. You now have the understanding, the foundation. Okay. So the article will be shared with us. You can check it, you get more things to practice from there. Watch this video again and see that you are able to try your hand on the things that we have done so far. No worries. Drop your comments, your questions on the comments on the video, or probably just drop it in. I mean, it will be better that you drop it in a group. You can also comment on the video. You can comment on the article. Anyone is fine. Okay. And that will help you to move forward. So let me give us one small assignment to try at home. If you have not tried this, try it at home. And then the assignment will be that you should let me not give you this assignment because that might be, but for anyone that can do it, right, include a category model in it. Let me drop it. This is the assignment. If you cannot try it, it's okay. But if you can attempt it, the same way we did for products, do for categories. And categories would be for products with a one-to-many. I have not thought of one-to-many or all those relationships yet. So I think it would be unfair for me to give you this assignment. So let's leave it. Let's leave it. So thank you, everyone. That would be all. Do you have any questions? We are sorry that we used 10 minutes out of our time. Any question from anyone? Any question from any angle?
Yeah, thank you for today's class. The question I want to ask is that if you were to write in raw SQL, do you have to go through the process of CEDA migration?
No, you won't need to do that. If you are writing raw SQL, then you probably will not be writing it inside my Laravel. Except you are using the facade to run it. If you are writing raw SQL, you'll be doing it from your MySQL database directly. You can see that even the name that I changed from test user to Ibukun, it had to run this SQL for it to work. So if I copy this SQL and I go to SQL on PHP my admin, you see I can write my SQL. I can say instead of Ibukun, update user set name to Ibukun. Where user.id is 1, right? And I run this. This is raw SQL. If I run this diagram, go. If I say go, and then I go back to users, you see that to have changed the name to Adebayo Olukunle. That's raw SQL, which I have to run from directly from the database itself. So if I refresh my, can you see that it's working? That's raw SQL. So you can run raw SQL from within Laravel, but then you still need a wrapper and other copies. And it's not necessary. Laravel was not going to go through all that and cause an issue. If we have much an application. So you should always use so that anybody that wants to work on it and will see the migration files that I've created. If you just go to database now, go to database, you go to migrations, you will see what I created, you will see the structure, right? You go to see that, you will see it there. Do you understand? So you go to factory, you also see it there. So that's what Laravel provides for you to run. But just for you to know that these things will also run some SQL behind the wood. Okay. So you run SQL in the database directly. In Laravel, you use migrations, CDA, and factory. Do you understand it, Abi?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, okay, yeah, Oluwatobi, you said it's working now. You have to restart your server. Okay, that's fine. That's a good one. Ibukun, how far? Is it working now as well?
No, I couldn't get to work, but I'll watch over the videos again, and definitely by next week, next class.
Okay.
I will check. Yeah.
Any other question from anyone? So don't worry, just go over the video, and you'll be able to get it. Okay. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Over to you, Himole.
Yeah, thank you, Adebayo, for the wonderful session today, and thank you all for joining. We'll be meeting again next week, same time, 2 p.m. Nigeria time and 2 p.m. UK time and 3 p.m. Nigerian time. And the recording will be available on YouTube. I think as soon as the recording is available, we'll send you the link on WhatsApp via the WhatsApp group. And have a wonderful week. Thank you all. Thank you, Adebayo, once again. And cheers. Bye.
Yeah, bye.